Hi, good morning, class. Welcome to my next lecture of business communication. So, this is the new subject which I am taking, and in this subject, we are going to have a detailed discussion about that what is the use of business communication in management, how management should take place, or what is the role of management in communicating the business. So, this is the first lecture, and the subject name is Communication in Business Management. So, in this session, we are going to have a brief discussion about business communication, what kind of communication takes place in business, and how those communication should take place. Now, let's proceed with the topic. So this is the first lecture of Unit 1. In this lecture we are going to study about role of communication, classification of communication and purpose of communication. These three topics we are going to have discussed. So introduction. Effective communication is the key to successful management. If we, in layman language, if we talk about that what is business communication or what is communication, that means I am taking your lecture, that means I am in a phase of communicating. And when we are communicating, there should be a person one should be the sender and the other person should be the receiver. So if I talk about this lecture, so I am the sender because I am taking the lecture of yours and you are receiving the lecture what I am teaching, so you are the receiver. So if we talk about communication, so communication is the most important aspect of management process because it helps to make the things understandable and easily accepted in the business organization. What we want, how things should be proceed, all these things can only be possible if we communicate in the right way. So sharing our ideas, opinions with the other person, so that is known as communication. And what is effective communication? How that communication can be more accessible, more meaningful, that is effective communication. Whatever is sending, whatever the message is given by the sender, that should be easily accepted and easily understandable by the receiver. So that is the process of communication कि हम जो भी बात कह रहे हैं, जो भी सेंडर मैसेज दे रहा है, वो रिसीवर को समझ में आना चाहिए. So that is only the aspect of the communication. So in this lecture we are going to have that aspect. For every successful management, there should be effective communication. If there is no effective communication, the big business organization also collapse. Why? Due to the ineffective communication. So whatever is the business, no matter whether the company is on large scale or big scale, the most effective thing is that if you want to be a successful in the area of business, if you want to be successful in market, then you have to focus on communication. Whatever you are trying to say, that should be easily understandable to the person to whom you are sending the message. Communication allows managers to share goals with shareholders both inside and outside the organization. Suppose if I am appointing as a manager of any XYZ company, so how should I make my team that what I actually want from them? That is only possible with the help of communication. So communication helps managers to share his ideas, what he actually wants from his team, and it also helps in the predetermined achievement of the predetermined objective of the business. It permits managers to stimulate behavior changes in employees and suppliers. It enables managers to inspire loyalty from employees and customers. Whatever you are communicating, just communicate in the best possible way. That is only the mantra for becoming successful in the area of business. So what we have discussed in this slide, that what is communication, it is a two-way process, that it consists of the sender, the person who is speaking, and the second person should be the receiver, the person who is taking the communication. The example is this lecture, I am is the sender, and all the students who are seeing this lecture, that is a receiver. So it is a two-way process. What is the main role of communication? The functions of communication in an organization are to inform, persuade, and motivate. Informing provides data and information to employees so that they can make educated decisions. Upward, downward, and horizontal informing are the three ways that workers can acquire information. The main motive of communication in a business organization is to inform what management want, and also to inform what actually workers want. So it is a two-way process. So it helps in sharing the information, giving the information, and motivating the people who are working in the organization. And it is up to you that whether you are following the upward, downward, or horizontal communication. These are the ways of communication, but in this lecture we are not going to discuss about this. We only have to discuss about that what is communication, what is the main role of communication. That's all about. Role of business communication in management. How communication helps in making the management the effective management. Communication and decision making. Communication helps in taking the best decision. It helps in executing the plans, whatever the plans which the company is going to follow, that can only be possible, or the execution of the plans can be possible if the things are being informed in a right manner. And informing things means you are in the process of communication. Communication and mutual understanding and cooperation. Mutual understanding means what you want from all your employees, what the manager wants from all his employees, and what actually he needed, whether all the employees are willing to work on that mood or not. So that is the cooperation. Communication and planning. It helps to plan out the things, that how the things should be executed. Communication and elimination of rumors. There is no place of rumors in communication. So if you are in a phase of doing good business, so never pay attention on rumors. Communication and motivation. Suppose if any person is performing well and you want to motivate him, then communication is the best way to motivate the person by saying few good words that you are doing well, yeah, you have performed well in this period, and this award is going to be yours in this, that performance of the year or performance of the month, performance of the week. So these are the few modes of motivating employees who are working in the organization, but it can only be possible if there is a effective communication in management. Communication and raising employee morale. If the person is doing well, then you can say a food appreciable words to that person, then that person can in future can also perform well. Communication and controlling. If the things are not going well, so at random you can inform your employees that these things are not going to be done in future, which can be only possible with communication. Developing industrial relations. If you want to grow well, if you want to be in the race of growth, if you want to be in the race of success, then you have to develop good industrial relations, which can only be possible with the communication. Communication and coordination. Coordination means every team has to work hard for the achievement of organizational objective. counseling. If some problem is there, if any person is not performing well, then with the help of communication you can solve the problem. Achievement of targets, that means you can inform your team that this is the monthly target and you have to achieve within this period of time. So informing about the targets can only be possible with the help of communication. Communication and directing the subordinates. Directing means you are telling your employees that what type of work you want and how that work should be done. That means you are instructing your employees, you are issuing instructions to the employees of how the work should be done. So that can only be possible with the help of communication. Communication and creating image. If you are soft spoken, if you are a good speaker, then that left a good image in the minds of the person. So it is up to you that with the help of communication, what type of image you are creating in the minds of the employees of your organization or in the mind of the public. So these are some of the points which helps in communicating, or which says that what is the role of business communication in management. Now you can see, if we eliminate any of this point, अगर हम इन 14 points में से कोई भी 2-3 points skip कर दें, then what is the result? Management is not going to work. सिर्फ हम communication हटा दें, what is the result? The management cannot do well. Why? Because there is no maid, because there is no media that with the help of which we can let the other person that what type of work we want from them. So that can only be possible with the help of communication. So that's why communication is also known as the lifeblood of the business. If there is no communication, you are not going to survive in the market. Importance of communication in performing these managerial roles which are discussed. First is interpersonal role. Interpersonal role implies interacting with superiors, subordinates, peers, and other outside parties of the organization. Performing an interpersonal role requires continuous communication with these parties. So interpersonal role means what actually you want from your team. You can only share what you want or what type of work you want from your team only with the help of communication. So when you discuss with your superiors, or when you interact with your superiors, subordinates, peers, and other parties who help in working of the organization, so that interaction is known as the interpersonal role, in which you are making the things understandable, that how the things or how the plans should be executed, and it is a continuous process. Second is decisional roles. It requires manager to seek out information to use in decision making and then communicate those decisions to others. If the manager want to take any decision, and if he has taken any important decision and he want to tell his team, then what is the mode of telling what he had decided? That can only be possible with the help of communication. Whatever the decision is taken by the manager for the benefit of the organization, that can only be informed with the help of communication. That's why it is known as the decisional roles. Why? Because it helps in taking some important decision for the growth of the organization. Third is informational role. Informational role focuses on acquiring and disseminating information. That means what information is useful and what information is not useful. That can only be judged with the help of informational role, which is only be done by the manager. What type of information is good for business, what type of information is not good for business. So these things, if are deciding by the management or by the manager, so that is in the category of informational role. In fine, it can be concluded that performing managerial roles and functions requires information from various internal and external sources. Therefore, managers must engage in communication. For this, it is said that none can perform management functions without communication. If there is a very large business organization, infrastructure is good, technology is good, then ambience is good, manpower is good, everything is up to the mark, but there is a lack of communication. What is the result? That business organization is not going to survive. Why? Because the communication is not effective. So no matter whether the business is doing on large scale or small scale, the very first thing which have to keep in mind is there should be effective communication in management. And what is effective communication? Which should be easily understandable by the working factors who are working in the organization. Classification of communication. Now, what are the types of communication which are carried out in a business organization? First is verbal communication, in which you listen to a person to understand their meaning. Verbal communication, what I am doing right now. I am taking the lecture and I am making you the things easily understandable. So, I am in the verbal communication, in which you are listening to a person and understanding what the other person is saying. So that is known as verbal communication, in which you only use a word of mouth. Written communication, in which you read their meaning. Written communication means, now in this lecture I am following the two ways of communication. The first is verbal communication, in which I am making the things understandable to you, and the second is written communication in the form of PPT, which I am giving to you just for your reference. So in this lecture I am using the verbal communication in the form of taking lecture, and written communication in the form of PowerPoint slide, the contents which I have given in this lecture. Non-verbal communication, in which you observe a person and infer meaning. Non-verbal communication, in which you are not using any kind of words or any kind of written documents. So that kind of communication is known as non-verbal communication. That means only by the face expression you can make the other person understandable that in what mood you are and what actually you want to communicate. For example, कि जब हमारे पेरेंट्स गुस्सा होते हैं, so they are not going to show, they are not going to use any kind of words, but with their facial expression you came to know that your parents are not in a good mood. So that is known as non-verbal communication. So there are three ways of communication, that is verbal, written and non-verbal communication. What are the purposes of communication, or why communication is important? First is to inform, just to create awareness or just to inform what you want. So that is known as to inform. To express feelings, what you want from your team, what kind of work you want from your team. You want hard work, you want dedication, you want support. So these are the feelings that can only be expressed with the help of communication. To imagine. Imagine means for next 5 years where you want to see your company. So you have already imagined that I want to see my company after 5 years on this point. But this is your imagination. But how you can tell your imagination to your team? Only with the help of communication. To influence. If you want to take the people in influence, that can only be possible with the help of communication. To meet social expectation, what the other person want. In this we can discuss about the social websites like Facebook, WhatsApp. So these applications are only possible because we are giving them a chance of communicating with the people, or these are the mode of communication. So that is why it also helps to meet the social expectation. Each of these purposes is reflected in a form of communication. If there is no communication, then all the above mentioned points is waste. So this is all about this lecture, but there is a need to follow that what actually communication. So in this we will discuss one exercise. Suppose there are three managers in a company A, B and C. The management of A company is good. Second, the management of B is average and the management of C is below average. So, but those three companies have started their business at the same point of time. They have used the same resources, they have used the same technologies, they have appointed the human forces at the same time. But what is the reason that company A is doing well, company B is doing average and company C is doing below average? So when we have conducted the survey, we have found that company A, everything is going well with the help of communication. कंपनी ए ने अपनी वर्किंग क्राइटेरिया को बहुत ईजिली और बहुत अच्छे से डिवाइड किया है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ डिपार्टमेंटेशन. ही हैड डिवाइडेड द कंपनी इनटू वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट्स लाइक मार्केटिंग, सेल्स, ह्यूमन रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट, देन computer application. So these are the different categories of departmentation which have been decided by the owner of company A. Second, he has appointed one manager to look after each department. For example, he had appointed marketing manager to take care of marketing department. He has appointed the HR manager to look after the human resource department. Then he had appointed finance manager who take care of the finance department. Then he had appointed one sales manager who will have to take care of the sales department. So every department is run by the one person in the form of management or in the form of manager, and he is responsible to take care of the whole department, that how the things are doing well, what type of complications are there in the department, how those complications can be taken care of, or what are the roles of working factors, what are the duties and responsibilities of the working factors, and whether the division of work is in the right way or not. So everything is doing well and everything is communicated from upper management to the lower management and lower management to the other working staff. So that means upper management has communicated the things to middle level has communicated to lower level, and the lower level in the form of supervisors, they have instructed to their team members. So that means the whole process is doing well, but it can only be possible with the help of communication. So the only thing which makes the company A successful is division of work, appointing right person for the right job, and proper use of communication. That's why following all these three criteria, the company A is doing well. Now if we talk about the company B, the company B is doing average. What is the main point? During survey we have found that everything is going well, departmentation is doing well, everything is well, infrastructure is also well, the person who are working in the organization, they are also up to the mark, but there is a lack of proper communication. What the company actually want from their working forces that is not understandable by the working factors who are working in that company, and also what working factor want from the management, that also is not understandable. So that means there is a gap of instructions that should be followed by the upper management to the lower management, and what actually the working factors want, that should be communicated from the supervisor to the upper management. So there is a lack of good communication. That's why the things are not doing well, and that's why the company B is performing average. If we talk about company C, so company C is everything was good, but there is only a one person who is responsible to look after all the working areas in the organization, which is not actually possible. One person cannot take care of the whole organization. In every business organization there are hell number of departments. For taking care, there is an appointment of managers, and that managers are responsible to take care of their departments. So it is not possible that only one person can take care of the whole organization. That is not possible. So there is a lack of appointing people, and the second is there is a lack of effective communication. So the lack of these two leads the company that the company is not doing well. So from these three examples you can easily take into consideration that what is the role of communication. Second example we can discuss. Suppose I have given you the content in the form of PPT slide, right? And it is a form of written communication, but there is no explanation. What is the result? Some students can understand the PPT, some students can do well in the communication, and some students cannot understand what actually I want to convey them. So until and unless the teacher will communicate with the students about the content which he or she is giving to his students, that cannot be possible, and that can only be possible with the help of proper communication. So you can say that communication is the way of doing the things well in the right possible manner. So this is all about for this session. Now we will meet in the next session. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you, class.